Hey, welcome to Musings, episode 335. We're back from our little mini Christmas break.
That's right.
Yeah.
Although I don't think we did have a mini Christmas break. We were on last week.
Yeah, I guess we were.
It was so tiny we didn't even miss a show.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just felt like, a little break having a Monday off was weird for me. So
yeah, exactly.
So it's the Christmas holiday season. I would say that's still going on. I mean, I know some people that are gung-ho about Christmas and they will decorate starting in October, but the day after Christmas, everything comes down. And I like to leave it up at least till just after the New Year. So
usually I wait till after New Year, but with how the temperatures are, I am thinking about taking the lights down this week since
if I did outdoor light decorations up on top of the building, the house and all that stuff, I'd be taking the stuff down this week because it's just it's been 50s and 40s.
Right.
It's going to start getting colder this weekend and rain. Instead of waiting until next week, I'd rather do it now.
So I might be doing that later.
And that I understand, but it's the indoor stuff I'll leave up at least until New Year's, take down the tree after New Year and stuff like that. I just enjoy it. It's nice and relaxing and that stuff. So, it's just some fun stuff. So
definitely.
Yeah. So in fact, let me see if I can find it. I shared a video the other day of a thing that I saw at the store and it's been going viral. Not really too much, but let's see here. Yeah, it's under my reels. Okay. So let me share that.
Oh.
Yeah, you saw this, yeah. That's just hilarious.
What is that thing?
It is the twerking llama. I was walking around the other morning. It was funny as when I did that, it was just a slow morning for me at work. I didn't have a shop early on. And I always got there early, regardless if I have them anyways, because those are not to me literally last minute. So if I'm sitting at home, I still got to drive into the store. And depending on what time of morning it is, I don't want to fight the extra traffic. So I'd rather just be sitting out there reading or whatever, sometimes writing, napping, things like that. So,
yeah.
So I was walking around real quick. This had to have been Thursday last week. So I had a couple days, I hadn't worked since Monday. And so I wanted to kind of also see, since I had a few minutes, like, okay, let's see how low stock the store is on all the holiday stuff. And they were just about wiped out. So we always get people like last minute. It's been a few years, but prior to COVID, I did have someone text me I was ruining their Christmas, but they were ordering everything on Christmas Eve. I'm like, it's just not here. What do you want me to do? I'm sorry that the app says it's here.
So because they waited till Christmas Eve, you, Brett Pinson, ruined their Christmas because it wasn't available.
Yeah. That was the last time I ever shopped for them. Because I was just like, no, I'm
they
sorry.
Put your picture up on the tree. Children, this man is why you didn't have gifts.
I sent pictures of stuff. I'm like going, there's nothing here. I mean, this isn't, and this was around 2018, 2019. The stores started scaling back on overbuying the holiday stuff. Because it used to be a thing like, oh, we go the day after Christmas or day after whatever holiday and get half off candy. They have tons of it. The stores didn't want that anymore. It's a loss for them. It's too much storage, stuff like that. And people are complaining like, oh, it's like already putting out like, Valentine's stuff. They put it out so early. It's like, well, yeah, they're out of the Christmas stuff now. So they bring out the truckloads of that stuff. It's been out for a couple months. I mean, the Christmas stuff hit back in October. Yeah. And, things like that. And yeah, the dancing llama thing is funny. And there's a bunch of them sitting there and people weren't necessarily buying because nobody knows what it is. I bought one because it was marked down. I was like, this is hilarious. So I wanted a twerking llama to put up with the other stuff. But, it's changed. I keep telling you this. It's like, it's not going to be here. I mean, people would text me in the last few years going, oh, you should shop for me. Can you check on Easter candy? I want like half off Easter candy or half off this. Look for this. Yeah, they don't have any. But the only thing they have left over anymore is going to be Reese's, whatever the version of the cups are, trees, eggs, whatever, and M&Ms and a few Hershey's Kisses. other than that, all the specialty candy is long gone.
Yeah.
So, and that's what people were wanting. They were wanting all the specialty. I was like, I'm sorry, you feel I'm ruining your Christmas, but not my fault that the store sold out weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
I need to file a complaint for this year's batch of Reese's. I feel like Reese's put out crap this year.
did they?
All the bags I bought, I'm a Reese's connoisseur, and I swear everything for Halloween, not all of them for Halloween, but every single bag I bought this year of Christmas trees, you know, when you first open up the batch, that's your best moment.
Mm-hmm.
The chocolate is slightly white. Like it has that clouded white chocolate, and they all tasted stale. Every single bag I bought this year.
I wonder if they made them up too early this year.
I don't know, or I don't know if it's how they stored it in the trucks, or I don't know what it is, but they all tasted stale. And I know my Reese's. I know when they taste like a fresh batch.
Yeah.
And every single Christmas tree this year sucked, Reese's. You better be doing better on the eggs.
I wonder did you check the dates on them?
Oh, like maybe from last year or something?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, sometimes they have so much of these stores. I'm wondering if they don't ship it off to their warehouse, let it sit, and bring it back. Because it's still good till January of 24. But by that point, it's gone. I'm sorry, it's crap.
Here, hold on a second. I'm going to grab a bag.
And I can tell you, Scott definitely is a connoisseur of the Reese's cups and all that stuff. So I just thought, yeah, I know you are because I've seen you when we travel.
So, I love my Reese's. In fact, this is what Jill got me. Got a big old Reese's cup. So let's see what the expiration date is on this. So I got this for Christmas. Now I usually buy them right when they start coming out so that they're at their freshest. And they've been stale right from the start. I don't even see an expiration date.
Yeah, they hide the expiration dates on so much stuff anymore. It's hard to find.
I don't see it. So I don't know.
Well, we know it's not candy corn because.
So here, we'll do a live opening. We'll do a live unboxing.
Yeah.
So like, look at this. Watch. I guarantee you.
There we go.
Yeah, look. I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but
no, you can see it. It should be like a darker brown.
Yeah, it's like a whitish.
It definitely looks like it's oldest. Yeah, it looks like you went to Big Lots and got the Christmas after Christmas.
Yeah, and they're horrible, and I just throw it out. It's not even worth eating.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like the dates on those. If you can find a date on it, I'd be kind of curious about that.
I do not see a date.
So it's got to be hidden somewhere because they blend it in anymore. So,
yeah, that will be my mission later on to.
Well, when you find it, text me.
And yeah, because I'm just. It's not even under the little scene here.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's been.
I didn't buy any this year. I've been trying to watch that. That stuff there.
And we noticed our pumpkins too. We had a lot of stale ones we got this last Halloween.
I'm just wondering if they didn't make stuff up early this year for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it sat in their warehouses, and they do that because they're like, oh, it's still good till whenever, but you want it pretty fresh, and.
Yeah, you can tell the difference. There's a big difference when you open it in that chocolate. It's got that white. It's gonna have a stale taste.
Yeah, but there's been some products too. I've been noticing it's been tough to get fresher dates on. Not a lot of stuff. I mean, certain things. One thing I like is Helmets has this cilantro lime
mayonnaise.
It's like a mayonnaise, I think, a little jar thing like that. And for the longest time, I couldn't find anything good. They were all bad. They looked bad. I mean, they were even until they returned. And it was back in the spring, late spring, before summer. I pulled them all off the shelf because I was working. I just got back from shopping, went back and pulled them all off the shelf. Found one of the managers I know. I said, look, they're all dated for November. And he goes, well, it's May. I said, yeah, but this is November last year. I said, I 3 times I said they knew. So he pulled them off himself. He took them all from me, went and cleared everything out. And it took, I think it was like almost 3 months for a fresh batch to show up.
Then next time you went, were they all back on the shelf, but with a little Sharpie crossed through and rewritten?
Yeah, no, but the problem is the ones I pulled off, I said, this is the 3rd time I've pulled off these dates. And I told him, I said, now I've been to 2 other Meijer. I said, and they all have these same date ones. So I don't know if it's something that they're being shipped in like that, or people are putting them back on the shelf, not paying attention. And
Wow.
he, of course, looked at me and goes, "Well, they're probably not paying attention to dates when they're stocking." I said, "Well, of course I know that, but if they're getting shipped in, you guys need to get a hold of whoever handles this for bringing them in and say, look, you guys are bringing in bad product from the jump."
Yeah.
So, and it's like they're already outdated, and then some of the ones that were dated decent, still had a few months on them. They still didn't look good. So I think it's some of these manufacturers have just gotten with everything that got messed up during COVID and slowdown and everything else. They still been pumping stuff out. I noticed this even in the fresher fruits and vegetables. The red peppers this week looked really good, but for 2 weeks prior, they were these elongated, crumpled up looking hard red peppers. It's like, oh, it was hard to find one that looked halfway decent that I would shop for some people. So I think it's just they're rushing stuff out to get it out there because they just have still never caught up from COVID when everything got gobbled up.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, we should knock out some ad reads here
Knock them out.
And get that going here. So I'll start us off with Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. They take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital X-rays, orthotics by foot levelers, young limb essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. Visit them online at largerfamilychiropractic.com. And of course, you can find them on Facebook here at Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC. And you give them a call now, like them, send them a message. Check out some of the different stuff they have going on here, and they will definitely take good care of you. I'm looking forward to going today with all the extra work I've been doing. Definitely need to get adjusted. Plus, the weather changes always throw me off. Hot, cold, rainy. It's that damp. Even though it's been in the 50s, it's that damp feel that just doesn't go away and causes me to feel a little achy. So.
For sure. And we got Team Titans of Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying and selling experience, we never forget at its core, it's still a people business. And that's why Jill and I put you first. So regarding this year, 2023 was a great year for Team Titans. I've said it before. Industry-wide, we've been down about 30%. We'll see where things go in 2024. No one has a crystal ball and can tell you with certainty in either direction where things are going. The projection, though, especially with it being an election year, interest rates will probably continue to go down a little bit. Will they go back down to the 2% and 3%? Probably not. We probably won't see those rates again. Honestly, we don't want to. Yes, from a selfish standpoint, it's nice for your mortgage, but from an economy standpoint, we don't. It's not healthy to have it go that low. That's just going to drive inflation more. So we probably will see it go down, though, a little bit here. So if you're looking to buy, now's the time to do it. Let's get your stuff in order. We'll also, if you've had any changes in your income, talk to us before you file your taxes, because there are situations where, let's say you've gotten a pay raise over the last year and you might have been right on the bubble of qualifying for certain lending programs like Mishta or other things where they give money to help you with your closing costs. If you've had an increase in pay and you file your taxes, you might now officially be too high in income to qualify for those type of programs. So if you're thinking you're going to need down payment assistance, talk to us now, because we can have our lenders look at your situation and tell you, do you want to hurry up and get things done before it's tax time? And then you have to report those higher incomes. So I've had that happen before where someone, they took too long to buy a house and they finally were ready and they were no longer qualified for the down payment assistance. And they didn't have enough money for down payment. So they ended up having to rent for the year. So, and then also in reverse, if you're self-employed and you had actually made less money this last year, you need to hurry up and make a move now before you file your taxes, because once you file those taxes and you show 1 year of losses compared to the year before, it'll make it harder to qualify you. So there are certain situations like that where you're really going to want to make a move now before April comes along. So give us a call. 586-549-6096 is my number. You can reach me there, or you can call our team hotline, 586-232-5144.
All right. So I was looking up a couple of things here. Selling Scott, I think I'll cover this real quick, is I watched and it's getting just shredded in my opinion by people online, but Rebel Moon on Netflix, and this is the new Zack Snyder thing, and I think the problem we've talked about with Zack Snyder before is too much slow motion, too much still shots. He's almost like trying to create posters with everything. So this is part one, and it was over 2 hours long. So um, it's funny when you read what it says is when ruthless forces of the mother world threaten a quiet farming village on a distant moon, a mysterious outsider becomes its best hope for survival. Yeah, that's exactly what the tagline should have been for the movies this is all really inspired from, which is Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven. There is nothing new here, and in fact, everything in it feels like he's really like, oh, I like this in Star Wars, I like this in this sci-fi, I like this from this movie, and he just cobbled it together. It wasn't horrible to watch. I mean, I've watched some movies recently that I had to shut off just they were just bad, but it's for 2 hours. It was drawn. I mean, when part two comes on, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna have to. Yeah, it's gonna be another 2 hours. So this 4 hour epic is again another thing that probably should have been 2 hours.
Yeah,
2.5 maybe, in one sitting.
Actually, it puts a good spotlight on the difference between being inspired by versus swiping.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the way you describe Rebel Moon, it's really the way Star Wars was. George Lucas was inspired by all these different movies that he took from to create his universe. Yeah. But the difference is when you're inspired by, there are elements of those things, some flavors of those things that end up in your movie, but it's still a very unique, original idea.
Yeah, it's like Variety. One of the people on Variety, basically gave it 1 out of 5 stars, and they said it's in Roger Ebert's.com. Sam Raimi's get 1 out of 4. They characterize it's too similar to Star Wars and Seven Samurai. Exactly what I said. I had not read any of these before. I try not to read anything ahead of time when I want to see something. And they said contain overlance of visual spectacle. I thought the visual effects were crap. It feels too green screeny feel, very claustrophobic in a lot of ways, different places. Scott mentioned about the wormhole, people are like a wormhole vagina. It's the way it opens up. It's like okay, and the ship comes through. But I'm watching this thing going, it's like they mentioned the mother world and all this stuff, and I'm going, there's no real. They give a basic setup at the beginning, but I'm sort of thinking, okay, there's a lot of story that probably could have been told around whoever this evil group is prior to this Rebel Moon. I mean, again, calling it Rebel Moon, and maybe I thought, okay, he's trying to do Star Wars, which he is. He's trying to do the Empire's now come in, and this moon fighting back, and we've seen this throughout all the different Star Wars iterations between movies, TV shows, things like that. Where Rebels, the animated series, is primarily takes place on Lothal. I mean, there's different places it goes to, but it's about basically the one planet. Mm-hmm. And this took it even smaller. Instead of just one place, it's a smaller village within this place that they just show up and say, well, you're going to grow all these crop for us because and everything's about the grain. And they've been selling it to the rebels on this planet. And that's why they're there as this alliance group, whatever, is looking for these rebels supposedly there. So now they're just going to come down here and tell this farm out of nowhere. Yeah, how long does it take you to grow? Great, you're going to do this. We're going to kill your leader and kill you all if you don't do this for us. And we're going to take 90% of what you grow, even though it'll put you all in starvation mode. So I'm thinking, but the Empire wouldn't have just taken over a farm; they would have taken over the entire planet,
right?
And enslaved the entire planet at once, not just this little farm. So again, that's ridiculous. But again, if you go back and watch Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, same thing. It's a small town being threatened by bad guys.
Yeah. Now, one, I'll just play a little bit of. I'm not a Zack Snyder fan, but one argument one could make is this actually was originally written for Star Wars. He wrote it for George Lucas as an idea for a Star Wars movie prior to George Lucas selling it to Disney. Of course, once the Disney deal happened, then these kind of things all went away. So he decided to adapt it to his own thing. So it was originally written with Star Wars as the intended universe. Mm-hmm. So I'll give him a little bit of a benefit of a doubt in that area. However, once again, it goes back to the difference between just being a bad copy versus truly inspired by it. Firefly is a great example of something that was inspired by Star Wars, took a lot of cues from Star Wars, but it felt like its own product still. It didn't feel like a swipe of Star Wars.
Right.
So, and that's where Zack Snyder doesn't have the creativity to create stories. He's a horrible story writer. He's a horrible storyteller. He's a great cinematographer. So when he has all the bullet points clearly laid out, like 300, that was written by somebody else, so when he takes a story where it's fully written by someone else, he can execute it if all the dots are there for him in a line. But you give him any freedom, it becomes a jumbled mess.
But it's like Sucker Punch.
Slow motion. And
Sucker Punch could have been something big. I mean, it was the only thing Sucker Punch was big for was all the girls that cosplayed the characters at Comic Cons for a few years after it. Of course, then they could look cute in their little schoolgirl type outfits, is what it was.
Right.
But this here, so he even says here, and again, I'm reading this off a wiki, so you take it for as is. But he claims he's creating a massive IP, intellectual property, and a universe to be built out, a role playing video game based on this in development. There's supposed to be animated shorts, graphic novel. There's supposed to be a comic series coming out, prequel comic series.
Yeah, that's all going to get scrapped.
Well, that's coming out next month, so that'll be out.
Oh,
and part 2 comes out in August. But I mean, the other stuff, down the road, we'll see if that really,
even people who I normally see loving Zack Snyder stuff, I'm just seeing a ho-hum response from the big fans.
Well, it's like this. They have this Rebel Moon House of the Blood Axe. It's by a different writer, and the Blood Axe is tied into, I think it's either, I don't know. It's kind of confusing on some of the things. They're talking about so many things jumping all over the place at one point that you're like, what, huh? And I think they just didn't spend enough time. Like the main character female, who's the ultimate badass, of course, is the one that, I'm sitting thinking, really her story isn't about being on this rebel moon and hiding at this village when she crashed there at some point, because she was come to find out she's a soldier. You learn back. Her backstory sounds like a much better story than this.
Yeah.
And they could have created this, if they're going to have this ultimate warrior badass, they should have created that story around her and her ending at that initial story. If he's going to do multiple stories going on, would have been crash landing on that planet and then these other groups showing up.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm sure too, part of this with him originally creating this with the intention of using it for Star Wars, that's an existing universe. So he wouldn't need backstory. He wouldn't need, there's a lot of things he could just put in there as little hints that the fans would know because of the backlog of information we have. So when he decided to make this a standalone, he had to cram in backstory and filler to explain things that originally weren't intended to be explained.
And that's the whole thing. You got this, like I said, this whole Blood Axe thing. It's the characters of Devra and Darian Blood Axe. I mean, that's kind of a cool name. They're leaders of a band of outlaw revolutionaries. That's kind of what they're looking for. I'm like, God, that sounds like a better story than even what they're doing here. Yeah. And then they have animated short that's coming out. Supposedly, it's the story of Kali, the shadowy figures who power the Mother World's most dangerous technology. Again, there's a lot of illusion to stuff, but it's like, and you get done with it. I got done with it. I was just like, okay, it really wasn't anything exciting. I don't have a desire to go back and rewatch it.
Right.
And that's part of the problem there too.
Well, even the bigger problem too, because if they're investing all this money in these additional products, not only do you have no desire to rewatch this, you have no desire for sequels, no desire for any spin-off novels, video game. It didn't create the want.
Yeah.
And, and then of course you have all the Zack Snyder slappies out there who just drool over Zack Snyder. And what do they say? Well, it's not his fault. The studio made it 2 hours. Wait till his 4-hour director cut that's going to come out even bigger and crappier. It's
I've been seeing that already.
Director cut.
He had control. He's the one that split it. He's the one doing this.
Right.
This is not. There is no studio saying cut. This isn't the Justice League, which I saw his cut afterwards. It did nothing to add to it.
No.
It was just longer and crazy. And again, it's over the top. Everything's slow motion. A lot of pauses, and a lot of them I'm looking at going, wow, I remember that from Justice League. Oh, yeah, it looks like a Justice League one. Yeah, that one was, it's this. And
he's gone to the same well too many times. So now you see the pattern. Yeah. And actually with him, less would be more, do less. It would have more wow factor.
Yeah. So, and they, introduce these characters. Again, everything is about, um, is basically, like I said, is the Seven Samurai / Magnificent Seven.
But really look at his history. Like, why is it Hollywood does this where they just decide somebody's going to be the it person and they hire them over and over and over again? And none of his projects have really done well.
Yeah.
I mean, his best is probably 300, which from a financial standpoint wasn't huge. I absolutely love it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a huge thing. It's so crazy over the top. It worked for 300, but outside of that, like,
Well, his film debut was with Dawn of the Dead, and
yeah,
that was a huge hit, low budget, and he did very well at 300. Again, that was 2004, 2006. And then he did The Watchmen. Watchmen grossed 185 million worldwide. Of course, everybody blames it not being even bigger because of the fact that nobody knew what it was. And
yeah, and they're like, well, if only it was 12 hours long. Which honestly, Watchmen, a lot of people love Watchmen. It's a cult hit, but
Mhm.
I don't get it. I never liked it. I always
Well,
thought it was so boring.
I bought I'd never read it, so I bought it prior to the coming out. Read the graphic novel. Went through that, and it's a Justice League, and that's originally what it was supposed to be. And then when
Right.
the creators behind Watchmen got pissed at DC, they said, "Fuck you, we'll do our own thing."
Wasn't that Alan Moore?
Dave Gibbons and
Oh.
and Alan Moore, yeah. So
Yeah.
with co-creator author that. So it was, and then so it was like, okay. I watched the Watchmen, the film, and that stuff, and again, it was just okay. Man of Steel came out. There was things I had issues with, but I was like, okay, not bad. It was not horrible, wasn't great. It was a different take on Superman. They made him, actually kill Zod and all this other stuff. And then we get into the problem of they say he's going to helm basically everything DC. So what do they start doing? They start announcing these grandiose projects. Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice. And it started off with just a Batman for Superman film to this whole Dawn of Justice thing, and then Justice League, and
Yeah, that's where
and
Warner Brothers was just throwing every idea out there.
And he was the one to do it because he basically just fell into it. Oh, you guys want this is what you want? Great.
And
he threw everything in they wanted. At the same time, he did nothing to make it a better story. So,
and you can go back and watch what Brett and I talked about. I remember that
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con year. Nobody cared about the DC stuff.
Yeah.
And they were going all in on Zack Snyder. And originally it was going to be Superman 2. Then it became Superman versus Batman. Then it became Dawn of Justice. And they kept changing what they were doing over and over again.
3 years they kept saying, "Oh, and we're going to do this," and they kept announcing everything
all these
you're going to see in
movies
it.
And
Just in the Batman Superman, they announced everything that was going to be in it along the way. So when you do go see this thing, nothing new, no surprises. It ends up being a death of Superman story.
Mm-hmm.
You got Batman's all mad at Superman because he destroyed the cities when he's fighting Zod. And it's like,
thank God their mothers had the same name.
Yeah, that was the stupidest thing. Your mom's name Martha, my mom's name Martha. They always become best friends. It was superhero stepbrothers at the end.
Prior to that, it's you touched my drum set.
Yeah. He's dragging his super balls across it,
It was Step Brothers. It's like, seriously, this is what you came up with. And thank God, though, the studio actually stopped Snyder, because Snyder is warped. Snyder felt Batman's parents being murdered in front of him wasn't enough motivation. Snyder's on record saying he wanted to show Bruce Wayne in prison getting prison raped to explain why he was mad at criminals.
Yeah.
And the studio said, no, we're not doing that.
Well, that's because he probably watched the Sylvester Stallone film where he's in jail and he basically gets railed through half the film, tied into Shawshank Redemption.
It's like,
my friend Andy Dufresne.
We don't need more motivation for Bruce Wayne. No.
Yeah. There's so much there. I mean, that's why the Batman. I think that Affleck as Batman could have been really good. I as the older, 40s Batman, 40s to 50 age Batman, had already done everything. Like I said, they had to put he'd already defeated the Joker, things like that. They could have gone with something a little more going from there. dealing with Batman. He's older, but no, they just didn't do anything with him, and that's where it screwed up. And they were going to give Affleck the ability to do his own Batman film, and Affleck's a good director and writer. I like the stuff he
Yes.
does. But the problem, of course, is he was bound by what they wanted, and of course, when COVID hit, that messed up
Yeah.
everything.
What needed to happen was Affleck making the the guy who annoys me, who's always crying, Jay and Silent Bob, Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith's Batman versus Superman script, original script without the giant spider robot.
Talking about this, it was a Superman script, wasn't Batman versus Superman. It was just a Superman script, but
right,
it had
but Batman
all the
was in
great
it.
villains. Yeah, well, it had a lot of different people making cameos, which is perfect.
Well, they had it. It was Batman versus Superman though, in it.
Well,
Did you
originally
ever read it?
it was yeah, I did. It was mainly it was a Superman story, but he did tie in Batman. He tied in the Justice League in a way that worked without calling it Justice League. It was still Superman centric, and they introduced all the villains that you'd want to see in a Superman film. That
So
wasn't just Zod.
So if Affleck made that script, I think it would have worked.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just like with the whole stuff they've done since Justice League and everything else. They got way off track and stuff like that. But yeah, I look at everything he's done, and in terms of rewatchability, I've seen Dawn of the Dead a couple times. I like that one. And again, it didn't have that Zack Snyder look per se. It still looked normal. He didn't go for that full stylized thing that he did in 300. Since 300, if you look, that's what he does on everything, is that stylized look. Man of Steel, same thing. You get a little more of a muted colors. He loves the green screen and things like that. And I understand that you have to use that in certain things. I mean, Batman vs Superman is, of course, very heavily green screen. But the muted color stuff, things like that. That's why when they showed it, they released it on HBO Max in black and white. It's like, yeah, it's not much different than the color one. You just took out the red and blue,
right,
and that was it.
Yeah.
And it's and the things is, and I just don't really care for, like I said, the way he does a lot of these movies. I've watched a bunch of them, but some I'm done with. The whole Army of Dead zombie heist thriller was just okay. They were going to do all these other ones after it, and I think they did a couple of them, but I stopped watching because who cared? It wasn't anything good.
Yeah.
But if he's taking this universe creating, I'm going, okay, creating this whole thing around a Magnificent Seven story is not going to broaden out your universe. Nobody's going to care. And creating and following the Star Wars theme of, well, we got to have rebels, so we want to have crazy. Nobody cared about them. I mean, there's the girl to me was kind of blah. She was just okay. A couple of good fight scenes here and there, and but they introduced all these other characters. Like, okay, there could be something there, but you don't really feel anything for these characters.
Yeah,
and that's I think the biggest problem with the Rebel Moon. So
yeah,
I don't. I if you want to watch it, but it's one of those things where I don't think you're gonna be excited, and it's to the point right now. It's like I was trying to find something else to watch. I ended up last night after I talked to Scott about it. I'd mentioned The Creator, so I started to watch The Creator, but I was just too tired. I shut it off after a half an hour. But again, another one that is out there that could have been great, and I like the guy that did it, but it's already starting off as just kind of very mediocre.
Yeah, and it was such a letdown.
And it does feel more like a version of Blade Runner the movie.
Yeah.
Replicants.
Well, if you guys are looking for something fresh though with great story content, let's give a little. I'm posting the link here to our pre-launch page. We got 12 followers on there already. I'd like to get that above 60. We'll be launching in late January, and it takes the first 4 issues of Crimson Shadows, combines them together into a trade, plus with an extra 28 pages of story. We have bonus content, art galleries, all kinds of concept sketches in the back, a bunch of bonus material. So once you add it all together, it's almost 200 pages of book. It's really well done. The quality is really good. Brett, myself, Kevin, we've really poured ourselves into this series, and can't wait to get this into everyone's hands.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everybody seeing it. It's going to be great. Like I said, 200 pages. It's a huge trade. So
yeah,
a lot of content.
Yeah, for sure. So good stuff. Go follow, click on the link, and then hit the notify me on launch button.
Excellent. So
right.
the end of the year time, Scott, we're talking like let's talk about the box offices. So I pulled
Yeah.
up the yearly box office. Nice thing about Box Office Mojo is they have this listed out. So this is kind of interesting on the total gross of this is just domestic, not international. So it's just the U.S. This year, the total gross is $8.2 billion. A lot of money. It's on 496 releases. So it's averaging about 16.5 million per release. Because again, keep in mind, there's a lot that come out that barely do anything. They just get released strictly because they're going to go to streaming and they just want to get notification for awards and things like that. And some will just do it as it's released like for a week, just as a limited run, just to have it out there. Number one movie this year, Barbie. And that one did $636 million here in the U.S. So Warner Brothers is really happy about that. I'm sure they're trying to figure out how they can recapitalize on that. So we'll probably see like 18 different Barbie movies in the works starting next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Barbie's best friend, Skipper. She gets her own live action film. So, but I found interesting about the changes over the last few years. 2020 was, when we shut down mid-March, box offices really didn't open much. Some did around the country here and there, but still very limited people going. Number one movie that year was Bad Boys for Life, averaging 4 million picture, 333 releases. It was only $1.4 billion in total box office draw. And that was down from almost 11.5 from the year before when Avengers Endgame came out. But the big year was 2018 with 11.6 billion when Black Panther came out. But if you look at the numbers there, really they're less average per film than what we had this year. They're 13 and 14 million because they were between 800 and 870 million or 800 to 870 films each year was released those couple years. So while there's a lot of stuff released, it wasn't getting as much traction per film in a lot of ways. But of course, that was also around the time in the start that Netflix and all them started releasing theatrically to get those award nominations.
Yeah.
And it helped them out a little bit. I mean, you get a film and release it like in November, release it on Netflix in late December or whatever, but it already qualified because of the November release for the
Right.
Oscars and Emmys and everything else. I mean, that's been something they fought for over the last couple of years, but they've kind of scaled back because the studios realized that, it's a good model. So they started adopting it themselves because they're going to make it as much money just porting it over to streaming and still having a theatrical release. While some films are still getting a theatrical only release, I believe it's now about 115-day window, typically, sometimes more, sometimes less, for it to end up streaming on the platforms. Of course, within 30 days anymore, you can buy them digitally.
Yeah.
So
here's the on Box Office Mojo, the top domestic for 2023. Yep. It surprises me. So you had the Barbie movie, which is number one, of course, but Super Mario Brothers was number 2 for the year.
Yeah, that one had a great run though. I mean, that one was just solid from the get-go for the numbers. For the first few weeks, it was huge.
And it did spawn the awesome side spoof of Pedro Pascal as Mario going through like the apocalyptic wasteland.
Oh, the Saturday Night Live thing. That was great.
Yeah,
so Google that's amazing. On YouTube. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and it was only, like I said, it was 636 million for Barbie, but 574 for Super Mario. So it wasn't that much difference. Both had a similar number of theater releases. Mario actually had more. But yeah,
so let's see. If we look at 2022, let's see. Top Gun was the biggest last year with 718 million.
Yeah.
Barbie was the biggest this year with 636. So about 80 million or so less.
Yeah.
But
and then of course
you got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, in 2022 there, I mean, you look at it, then you got Black Panther was a big drop from Top Gun. Still solid numbers, but nowhere near the billion that the original Black Panther did.
Correct.
And you kind of see the fall there. Still though, Avatar: Way of Water, I still don't know how that did 400 million because nobody talked about it. That one still baffles me, but
Little Mermaid was number 6 for the year. I don't know anyone who even went and saw that.
Yeah, I do. I knew some people that saw it, and it did have a decent amount, but it was a lot of. It was one of those. Well, because of I think not as many of the family pictures per se this year. There's been some here and there. So when it came out, it kind of owned that summer family things where, especially little girls repeat viewings of Little Mermaid, especially we get things like around here. I got, go to the Imagine on Tuesdays and free popcorn Tuesday, $5 film. You can take your kids to the movies for $20 and get them free popcorn. It's
Yeah.
not too hard to do that. And then, of course, Avatar was a carryover from last year. Again, still don't know how people went and saw that because nobody really talked about it.
I still believe a big chunk of their sales was advertising dollars that they bought, because there was a lot of stories of empty seats
Yeah, it's
in
sold out
theaters that
theater, and there's like
supposedly
8
sold
people.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they were trying to save face, because you got like 3 more movies coming out.
Mhm.
And I think they were trying hard to keep the sales numbers up.
Yeah. I mean, it grossed worldwide 684 million.
You're right.
Or is that total? That might be just total domestic,
Yeah.
actually. So I sold domestic. So it still did these huge numbers, but again, and yeah, because it did well over $1 billion. It's like this huge thing worldwide. But again, nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Numbers like that are like Avengers numbers where people come out and say, I saw it 8 times and I've been wanting to see this, and I went and saw it again and I missed this. No talk. I watched it one time on Disney Plus, and I thought it was just garbage. I don't care how beautiful it looks. That's all people say. Oh, it looks so beautiful. I'm like, okay, I can just put on a video on YouTube of serene, ocean scenes and be just as happy then.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're reading this right, then it did 684 million total. So about 400 million of it was in 2022,
Right.
and then the 283 million was. So if you combine those, according to this, it made more money than Barbie. There is no way Avatar had bigger sales domestically than Barbie.
I know, because people were posting like crazy how much they went and saw Barbie. All right, we're going for our 4th viewing. We're still in pink.
Yeah, and like really 684, and then the year before the number 1 movie was 700 million. So that would mean Avatar actually was the second place movie out of 2 full years.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about it.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah, there's some
shenanigans
afoot.
Yeah. Now, of course, Ant-Man, we talked about that. It was really a garbage of a movie. And of course, that whole storyline is done now that the guy playing Kang, they can replace him, but I think they should they need to walk away from that storyline completely.
Now the rumor going around, I think it's purely rumor. I don't think there's any basis in fact. They're saying Will Smith is going to step in as Kang. I think this is a complete internet
fake. I think that's internet fake. Because I'm sorry, Will Smith right now, it doesn't matter what he does, it's going to be considered toxic. All you can hear is the slap heard around the world.
Right. Not to mention just Will Smith as an actor, even at his height, he doesn't do good at playing villains.
No,
he's too likable, and like when he played Deadshot, and it just doesn't work with him as a bad guy.
No, they need to stay away from that. I personally, I consider the Kang. They screwed up that storyline. There's no reason to go forward with it.
Yep, let Loki be the end of the Kang saga. Move on.
Now, John Wick Chapter 4, I enjoyed that one. 187 million makes sense. It was just, it's one of those films that you can't necessarily take the kids to, family to. It was a hardcore R, a lot of violence, a lot of killing, stuff like that. I did not see Sound of Freedom. Did you see that? It's Angel Studios.
Yes, I absolutely loved it. Amazing film, great story, inspired by true events.
Yeah.
Now, what surprises me is the Taylor Swift one, because every time I went to the theater when this came out, it was packed with Swifties everywhere. I thought it would have been higher. I thought for sure in the top 10, but I figured it'd be more like number 6 or something for the year.
It's what it is. They all went and saw it the first couple weeks, and then it's slowed down. And I don't even know if it's still in theaters now. I think it was only a limited. I think it was just a limited run. I think it was designed as. I think she was smart on that. Going to do a limited run. She wasn't worried about making she could probably made like 300 million easily. But now she ported it over to we can buy it digitally, and they added 3 more songs into it.
Yep.
So
yeah, she's a brilliant marketer. It was a great idea to do this, because how many people might love to go to her movies but can't, or her concerts but can't. And now they can take the family to something like this at a much more affordable price than a concert.
Yeah, and it looks like it's still out there. It's still showing some numbers here. It's just really gone down the number of theaters. Still quite a fair amount, but I think it's just they all went and saw it, so now they've all seen it. And it was kind of that event thing where going repeated viewings would not be something that people are going to see. Oh, we've already seen it. It's good. The initial wow factor for these kids
Yeah.
and even the adults that went with them, and the thing was, it's funny. I did see complaints. People saying, "Oh, people are up and dancing and something like that." She actually encouraged that. She
Well,
told people,
yeah,
go to the theater, treat it like a concert, have fun.
that's what it is. It's meant to be a concert, so
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
have a
a
problem with people doing
yeah, it's
that.
not a film that you're supposed to sit back. It's a concert film that you're not supposed to sit back
Yeah.
and just watch. They want you enjoying it. Of course, the Beyonce one's coming out, and she delayed hers because Taylor Swift came out and just like stormed out real fast. I mean, she did first 3 days, it was like 80 million, 92 million. There it is.
Yeah.
And she did like a limited run too initially, and then they brought it back to next week. And I think, and I'm watching some of this stuff, it was like a lot of just like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday release days. So, and there's finally there's a Tuesday on Halloween. So she was just doing it in limited weekend runs.
Yeah.
So, and again, she's worth over $1 billion now, but
Yeah.
but she definitely marketed it. She's smart on that. She controlled it, and now they got the home video aspect of it. She's got more international tours next year, and those that like watching her, we're excited about it. And I knew several people that posted that we couldn't get tickets to her live,
Right.
seeing this was the next best thing.
Yep.
So
let's see. We got Indiana Jones at number 12. That's probably about right for the placement. It was an okay movie. I think it was a good final movie. Time to move on.
I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't like the best, but I enjoyed it way better than the Crystal Skulls.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that it's just one of those things where I think it gave a final nice ending without being this hardcore ending. He's still around. He grabs the head at the end. I enjoyed it for that aspect of it. So it's good to kind of put that away for now. And
now just let the franchise rest until it's time to give a new actor or something.
Yeah. The Mission Impossible, I finally saw that at
for
home.
For me, that was one of my favorite movies of the year.
I liked it a lot. I can't wait for part 2.
I figured that should be higher.
Well, I think what hurt this one was the time length. Well, the strike was part of it, but because they couldn't promote it too much then. Right. But it was also the fact that it was almost 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it's
plus it's a part 1. I always feel like movies don't do as well when they do this part 1, part 2 stuff.
Yeah, I think if they just called it Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and they announced it when they announced it with alongside Maverick, they said it's going to be 2 parts.
Yeah.
And they should have said, "No, we got," and then we're doing the Mission Impossible. And then at the end, come out and say, "Watch, part 2 coming out." Well, now it's going to be next year, 2025. The next year, 2025. It sounds like because the strike and everything delayed work on it for finalizing it, so it's going to take time to finalize. I think the special effects and the reshoots, and so they're waiting until the next year to come out as a summer release because they know that he'll do better as a summer release versus a winter release.
Right.
But I enjoyed it a lot. It was really good. Did $567 million worldwide on a $291 million budget. And he's kind of, distributed by Paramount. He's pretty much controlling every aspect of it, along with he did with Maverick. So, and Maverick is a good homage to Star Wars.
Yeah,
with the trench run. But told as a good story. That's what I enjoyed about it. It was really good. It was great to revisit that character. They don't necessarily need to go do another one. I think it finished his character, Maverick. It was a great way to see the end of his career and go from there. So.
Yeah, let's see. Creed 3 or Transformers. I didn't even see that one. I've lost interest in those.
I watched it. It was pretty good. It was on, but I watched it on. Was it Peacock?
Okay.
Or Paramount. Paramount. It was Paramount. And I liked it. It was fun. It wasn't great.
Even with the cartoons, I've just never got connected with the whole Beast Wars part of the storyline.
Well, the Rise of the Beast, and they didn't go too much into that whole Beast Wars, a little bit there, but they introduced those characters. But this was more of a continuation from Bumblebee. And they tied it into the Bumblebee movie. So it made more sense that way. But yeah, Creed 3 I still haven't seen. I can watch it stream.
I watched it on streaming. It was very ho-hum. I didn't care for it. I thought it was very boring, the fight scene, the way they did it. It's like they try to show them kind of locked in on each other and the whole arena is empty while they're fighting. And it just, the energy that Stallone brought to the Rocky movies and into the Creed movies, Stallone wasn't part of this one. I feel like it was felt. I felt like the energy was lower.
Yep.
So wasn't crazy about that. You saw
And this,
Elemental.
yeah, I liked Elemental. I went and saw it. My friend and I went and saw it. We were like, well, let's go see a movie. It's about the only thing that was out that we're like, okay, let's go see that. Figured if anything, it'll be okay to watch. I liked it better than I thought it would. It was a decent story. It was fun. It was neat how they take all these elementals and how they don't mix, and then how they when they do intermix, and how the fire group was really kept away from everybody else because they burned everything, and so it had a nice little story there. It was fun, had some good comedy. It's on Disney Plus. I would recommend watching it there.
Yeah. Let's see. Hunger Games. I really enjoyed Hunger Games. I thought it was the second best movie out of all the Hunger Games. I like the first one the best still. But this was my second place. I thought they did a good job with it. I thought it was worth seeing if you like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Fast X. Who knows?
Haven't seen it. I haven't watched the Fast Furious movie since
Yeah.
3. It's funny because if you look at my digital videos, I think I own 3 of them after 3. And the reason is they were free.
Yeah.
I didn't pay for them, but they were free, and
they just don't make any sense, these movies anymore. Now it's like, oh, I'm gonna strap a rocket on, we're gonna go to the moon and fly around the moon 4 times and come back and land on the North Pole and fight a submarine. It's like, what?
Yeah, well, the whole thing is, it's just like Universal really put a lot behind these Fast Furious. They did the ride out in Hollywood. They ported it over to Universal Orlando, and it's a stupid ride. You're on a giant party bus. Well, you remember the Kong ride we did, the big bus. It's a similar design to that, where you're in this big bus. So you go through, and then you're in this thing where you're supposed to be in this big race. And you got them flying all over the place of cars. You got at one point, you got Vin Diesel holding onto a helicopter, swinging at the bus. Well, he ends up being bigger than the bus. I'm like, oh, great. You got, Vin Diesel's balls smacking the bus. And, and the whole thing is this, when they introduce it, you come in there, the first thing is they come out there, and it's, I think it's Ludacris introducing it. And he's like, it's his character. And he's like, all the girls in their little hoochie dresses and their little party thing. They're going to this big celebration party because, family, everything's about family. And I'm like going, okay. And you get that. I wrote it. At the most I've wrote it is 3 times.
Yeah.
And I wrote it once was done. I don't need this again. And the other 2 times because people I was with, like, I've never done it. I want to do it. I'm like, okay, let's go do it. And I don't say anything to them. I just say, you want to do it? Let's go. And I let them make that decision on it. I never. A couple times the first times I went to Universal with people, it was they're like, well, we've done that. We don't want to do it. I'm like, I've never done it. I don't care if it's bad. I want to do it once, so I know it's bad. It's one of those things. So when people told me they wanted to go do it, I was like, okay, let's go do it. And they got off and go, what the hell was that? I'm like, yeah, told you. The only thing cool about it is the walk through the garage is a cool queue, and they have a decent size, gift shop if you like all that stuff. But now the Fast and Furious movies it's time to retire them. Personally, though, for the ride aspect at Universal, they should have took it and did like they do with Spider-Man Transformers, that type ride where you're in a single car. And it could have been, and still moving on a track. And when you get into different areas, it feels like you're really moving, especially on Transformers. They could have done some of that in there and had the story through there as you're moving through the city trying to get away.
Yeah.
That would have been a better use of the technology than what they did with whoever it was that booked the Kong, and that probably got fired because this sucks.
Let's see. 2 movies I want to put a spotlight on. We got Five Nights at Freddy's coming in at number 19, and also Megan at number 24.
Yeah.
Both by Universal Pictures, Blumhouse, and both were PG-13 ratings, which is, I think it's a cool genre to explore with this. They're doing these good horror movies, but keep them at PG-13 level so you can bring your younger, maybe your 12-year-old who likes that kind of scary stuff, but it's not over the top.
Yeah, and that's the thing I liked about it. I saw both of them at home. Just getting to the movies this year was tough with my schedules, and that. But Five Nights at Freddy done very well. I thought it was a great. I
was surprised about how good it was.
You saw it in the theater too, didn't you?
Yeah, I really, it's like, what do you do with this game as a storyline? They did a great job.
Well, I think it's just like Godzilla, which we haven't talked about today, so we'll talk about that next week. Because I finally saw the new Godzilla. The story isn't about the creatures, I mean, it is a little bit with Five Nights at Freddy. You have the animatronics; they are a part of the story, but you have to have a good, solid human story going on,
right?
And if you don't have that, then everything else happens. You're not going to care. I look at the first Purge movie. Halfway through the first Purge movie, I'm hoping they kill that little kid because he's the one who opened up the door. And it made, the whole thing is like, yeah, kill this family. They suck. It's like nobody cares about them. But you get to Five Nights at Freddy. You like the guy. It makes sense what's going on with his story and the little girl, which is his niece. and everything that they're building through that it's through a lot, and then you find out the evil story behind it. They did such a great job of building that lore up. It wasn't just a jump scare from the game.
Right.
And then Megan was, again, dealing with technology, kind of like, Creator. You've got the with the AI stuff. That's basically what Megan was a type of AI.
Right.
And I think what really helped is that Universal during their Halloween Horror Nights, people were posting the videos of the group of Megans that would come out and do the horror dance.
Yep.
Which we find out it was pretty funny. I never saw it live, but I saw it in there. So
yeah, we got The Flash at number 23. That's the highest DC movie of the year. Which, yeah, our worst Marvel movie was Ant-Man, which had what
214 million.
214. So this is less than half of that.
Yeah.
So it's
and the Flash did like 8 million on the Thursday night preview, and the Aquaman did less than 4.
Wow.
So I mean, and it only did like
That's
40 million over the weekend. So it's just doing horrible. I mean, people I said that I know saw a couple people posted, it wasn't bad. It was okay. They're trying to justify it. And my thing is I don't care if you're a fan and it sucks, please say it sucks. Quit saying, oh, well, I'm a fan, so I have to support it. No, if it sucks, you have to say it sucks, and so they get somebody else to do better. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Mutant Mayhem, not bad. It was a different take on it. Not my favorite take on it, but I watched it. It was okay. I thought it was better than the Michael Bay ones.
Right.
So,
here's the worst Marvel one. It's The Marvels. How could I forget? 84 million. Number 30.
That was even less than The Flash, but it's still technically out there, but it's not going to hit the 100 million.
Blue Beetle, 72 million at 33.
Yeah, there's another DC.
Oh,
Haunted Mansion, I like that one. I thought it should have done better, but people were not willing to give it a shot. I thought it was a better lore with the ride of the Haunted Mansion based on the Disneyland version.
Number 43 is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Now that one, I feel
that was great. I enjoyed that one.
It was fun, but The Rock ruined it. The Rock ruined it with his stupidity over his Black Adam movie.
Yep.
This should have been out first. It should have introduced Black Adam. Black Adam should have been the bad guy, and then a Black Adam movie after that.
Well, the thing is, they could have introduced Resurrected Black Adam towards the end with the other villains they had, Daughter Black Adam, and that would have been the ending. It's like, here's the next step, and then you do the Black Adam movie. But and the problem too was the way his attitude through the whole thing. When you watch him, the way he flew, everything else, there was just, you're not going to like this character. I mean,
I'm so tired too of hearing Dwayne Johnson talk about how he's a lifelong Black Adam fan. Black Adam has always been tied together with Shazam. That's like saying I'm a huge Superman fan, but I don't want Lex Luthor to be in a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Well, Lex Luthor's a main enemy of Superman. What? Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Now, again, a lot of people I end up seeing at home. I saw A Man Called Otto. That was a one-time viewing only. Came out December 30th, but then ran through the year. And that was the Tom Hanks one. It was okay. I'm glad I watched it at home. Napoleon, I still want to see. I just don't know if I'm going to get to the theaters to see it.
Here's Renfield. Forgot about him. Renfield, number 77. That was a fun one. It was interesting seeing Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Now, one that you mentioned before that I finally saw on the flight was the Jesus Revolution. Saw that over the summer.
Oh, I enjoyed that one.
And that was pretty good. I think that the last half hour or so,
it's more about it's more of a biography about
I'm
forgetting
he's an actual preacher out here, but
yes,
I like the aspect of that late 60s, early 70s era. Talking about what was going on because it was tied into the hippies and everything else.
Yeah.
So and then Gran Turismo, I actually like that one. That one you can watch. I think it's on. Is it Netflix? It's one of them or Prime. I ended up buying Gran Turismo because I really wanted to see it, and I like that one a lot. That one was actually really good. It's based on a true story, so that helps it. And they base it, and it wasn't like they changed it. It's main guy, and the guy they based it on was actually the stunt driver through the whole thing. Which is really good. And then of course I mentioned Godzilla -1, 40 million so far, and that one is an independent. It's done by a studio in Japan, but it's basically being released almost independently here in the United States. Not much advertisement. And I can tell you this: the theater I was in was a small seating theater, and it was 2/3 sold out for Tuesday morning.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's just got consistent push on that. It's done more than Aquaman with all its billions of dollars in publicity.
I feel like Jason Momoa is talking Aquaman down a little bit too. Saw an interview. He was talking about when he first got hired for Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw it. He's like, they call him like, "Hey, we want you to come in." He auditioned for the Batman movie to be Batman, and he's like, "I don't even know why I'm auditioning for this." He's like, "I'm obviously not going to be Batman, you know." And he gets a call to come in, so he's like, "Oh, well," and he had read Ben Affleck got the role, so he's like, "Well, they're going to hire me as a bad guy to beat up those two, you know."
Yeah.
So he goes in and they're like, "Do you know why you're here?" You're like, "Well, yeah." They're like, "You know who you're going to play?" He's like, "Of course, Lobo." And they're like, "Lobo? No, he's not in this universe." And he's like, "Oh, well, why the heck am I here?" He's like, "You're going to be Aquaman." And he's like, "I wish they had a recording of me at the time," because he goes, "My face went." Aquaman.
I will say this: I didn't dislike him as Aquaman, but the way the Aquaman movie's done, I'm not going to see the new one. The first one I barely saw because, you know, and again, it's not my digital only because a friend of mine bought it and they gave me the code, said, "Here, you can have my digital," and they share my streaming anyways. But it's like, the only thing I know is most of the people I know were women that like seeing it because they like Jason Momoa because they think he's hot.
Yeah. And is Black Mantis really a 2-movie worthy villain?
Well, who else they got? I mean, it's Aquaman.
I know.
I mean, you go back to Big Bang Theory with Raj dressed up as Aquaman going, Aquaman sucks. You know?
Right?
So, but it's just, you know, again, the whole thing. The rumor has been now he's going to play Lobo and James Gunn's, but again, that's all rumor.
Yeah, he does say in the interview, he goes, "If they ask me, I will say yes." I'll say F yes.
Yeah.
He goes, "But I don't want to put any fake news out there." He goes, "Nobody has asked me anything, but just know, DC, if you ask, I will say yes."
Well, and it's a character that would be great to see live action. I think he's big enough and bold enough to do it. I think he can definitely pull it off. But do they want to bring the guy that played Aquaman in as Lobo? I mean, he's gonna, with the makeup and everything else, he would be different, but he's gonna be compared too much the same to it.
Yeah, if there was a gap between, but going direct from Aquaman to the new universe, not sure.
Yeah, but again, didn't care for the first Aquaman, so the second one's come out, didn't care to go see that one. So
yeah, I want to give a shout out here too for this movie I just saw, The Iron Claw.
Yep.
It's if you're a wrestling fan, this is a story about the Von Erichs, who were a big wrestling family back in the 80s. They do a really good job with this movie. It's a tragic story. I'm not going to give away anything, but family goes through a lot, and so it's a sad tale if you don't know it. But I feel like it's really well done. Zac Efron's in it. It's insane. The amount of size he put on for this role, you don't even recognize him as Zac Efron, to be honest.
Well, same thing with from what I saw from the trailer, Jeremy Allen White. Yeah. He played Kerry Von Erich, and he's in The Bear. He was in was the one that was Shameless. Yeah. And when I saw in the trailer, I was like, wow, you know, he bulked up for it as well.
Yeah, they definitely put on the size for the roles. They do it justice. The wrestling scenes look great, and it's a good look at wrestling behind the scenes too. Just, you know, you see the glamour on the TV, but behind the scenes, you know, you get beat up. You know, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of pain, a lot. You know, you see how some of them get addicted to painkillers. So there's a lot to it. But if you're a wrestling fan and you know, you like the history of early wrestling, it's kind of like the transition between back in the day, there was a lot of these independent wrestling companies all throughout the country. Mm-hmm. And Vince McMahon's dad started buying them up and really growing the WWF at the time into this powerhouse that we now know today that Vince McMahon Jr. took over. Yeah. But back then it was all these independent wrestling leagues that kind of went against each other and different things. And so you kind of see the transition there of WWF was starting to get big and the interest was going more towards that and how these little guys were trying to stay relevant. So it's a cool story. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah. And that was definitely, people don't realize that. And in terms of actually paying in that, my buddy Johnny, when he was alive, he went and actually went to wrestling school for 3 days and found out it hurts.
It hurts. Yeah. The
There's
people
pain.
think that they were talking to Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White about what surprised them most about doing professional wrestling, and they said how much it hurts.
Yeah.
He like those mats. He's like, I thought they bounce. He's like, it's just wood. You're landing on wood.
With professional wrestling, it is fake in terms of the story. There's a story. It is scripted on what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the moves and everything else are very real and hurt. And
a 300-pound guy flying 30 feet through the air and landing on you is still a 300-pound guy flying 30 feet through the air.
And if you're another 300-pound guy, and your guys are all muscle. When they flip you up and suplex you back and you slam onto the mat, you hear it hit. That's not sound effects. That's the body's going.
That's
ow.
the wood.
But yeah, it was I
brutal.
probably catch that at some point when I see it on streaming. But
it's good.
Professional wrestling, I mean, I watched it in the 80s. It was big with Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. They made it big because they had these grandiose storylines and they got syndicated, so they were everywhere. And it became this big thing. I said, because he was buying up all the regional ones, and then you had some regional ones that held on hard to their area. That's where you got like Jerry Lawler with Memphis and that area, Memphis wrestling and everything else. They did not join up. They kept it separate, and they all got their own regional TV deals. But definitely, it was something like it was the WWE now, and then you had other ones that popped up here and there that eventually got either failed or absorbed again into WWE because they were the first to build it up and make the money, so they were able to do that. So
yeah, Vince Sr. had the vision of unifying these things. That's what he came up with, the idea of, let's buy these out, unify them, make these world titles and televise them. And he had this vision that the other guys, they were so hung up on their small little territories that by the time they realized what Vince Sr. was doing, he was a monster. he owned a huge portion of the land,
Well, yeah, and that was he basically did the Disney model of just buy it up quick when nobody's paying attention.
Yep.
And then the other thing we'll talk about next week, we'll get more into this. I think we should, but this is Godzilla -1. Basically, this is how you do a prequel movie. Yeah. And it's a great prequel to the original Gojira, as well as the Godzilla films that came after it. So, and just wonderful acting, and it is subtitled. So if you go see it, you're, as somebody like you are reading your film, but it's not hard. There's not like so much dialogue you can't keep up. It's easy enough, and beautifully shot, low budget, but they showed how you can actually make a film and not have to rely 100% on $100 million of CGI and make it look all neon and keep it looking really good. So, but yeah, so hey, I think that's it for this week.
Yeah. Good times. End of the year. Last show of the year.
So we'll see you all
for
next
the rest
year.
of the year.
Yeah, we'll see you all next year. And we hope you all have a safe and happy new year. Don't forget there's all kinds of rideshare options out there if you're out there partying and everything else Sunday night into Monday. And Scott's got some business to do. We'll see you.
Yeah.